welcome to another unboxing. This time, Agents of Dune, what kind of works as the starter set for Dune Adventures in the Imperium. And as noted on the front, you get a code for a digital copy of the full rulebook. So inside is kind of a guided adventure that explains some of the rules and concepts, mechanics, and there's not really a full rule book in here, but this is supposedly a box you can open without any prep and play with a group and kind of learn the mechanics of the Modiphius 2D20 Dune RPG. So let's get the plastic off and see what the box says is inside. So that's better. A much more matte finish on the box and a nice sturdy box, although not incredibly thick, a very standard sized box set. So Agents of Dune, Role-Playing Companion Experience. So a little bit different. They're not calling it a starter set because it doesn't have rules in it. It is a guided experience. So Arrakis is yours. Your house is to become the new governor of Arrakis in an alternate what-if scenario, where you must ensure the supply of the vital spice melange to the known universe. With the eyes of the entire Imperium watching your every move, can you retain control of the treasure of Arrakis? Or will this appointment spell destruction of your house? So basically your house, the house that you create, is taking the place of House Atreides from the novel. The Agents of Dune role-playing campaign experience offers a complete introduction to the world of Dune and the Dune Adventures in the Imperium role-playing game. The box contains everything you need to start playing, with no preparation required, even if you are new to Dune or role-playing games. This set guides you through an epic story where your characters are the heroes. So, lots included. They give you a lot of kind of player aids and things in here. So Agents of Dune contains a complete 116-page adventure with step-by-step guidance as you play, 5 character folios of the members of House Nagara, so the default house that they give you, 2 50-deck cards detailing NPCs, assets, and traits for use during play, instead of writing them on a character sheet, 3 handouts, 4 zone maps that bring the experience of Arrakis to your gaming table, 54 tokens, and 2 trackers for momentum, threat, and determination. A complete spice harvesting system to keep track of your successes and failures in running Arrakis, 5 custom D20s featuring the Great Sandworms of Arrakis, the symbol of the Great Sandworms, and a free digital copy of the full rulebook. All right, so let's see what exactly is inside, and we'll talk a little bit about how this could work and if this does work as a good introduction to the game. So, lift the lid off. So unfortunately, they didn't take advantage. I think Free League did this. They made this a bit of a GM screen. They put some rule summaries here that may have been useful, but a nice sturdy box. And of course, a read this first. Unfortunately, written in a strange script font. So this is already kind of an immersive, this is already kind of a handout or an immersive prop for the session, because it's a letter from Sakura Countess Nagara. A little bit Japanese flavor. So just a little bit. My dearest child, by now you will have heard news of the rumors of our house being chosen by the Emperor to take over the spice production operation on Arrakis, called Dune by the natives. So just kind of setting you up for what the characters in your house are going to be doing. And they advise, even in the full role-playing game, you're building a house, you're building a world that they live on, kind of deciding the size and strength of your house, meaning also how many enemies and what kind of threat they're going to be under immediately. And then the characters you roll up are members of that house, so they can take a role in the staff or be members of the royal family. And that's the way that they recommend. I think you could play, because some of the expansions that have come out, the supplemental material, have already expanded into face dancers and playing Fremen, and of course those won't be members of your house. So I think you can, the house, there needs to be a central house. The house needs to be a center. But the game itself works very well without everybody being a member of the royal family, unlike what we're going to see here as an example. So there's a lot more flexibility than this experience may convey. So let's see. Oh, and this is just an explanation. So a what if. So what if you ruled Arrakis? So a what if scenario. And basically, you are going to be playing like your own campaign in Dune. So we already have about 15 sessions of actual play of the full game of Dune, where we created House Abacoster, and they have very little contact with Arrakis, and in fact live on a water moon. So the players were interested not playing in the timeline of the novel, the first Dune novel, and also doing things. So they're not going to be running into famous, movie, book characters, and we can enjoy the kind of things leading up to it. So I think we went about 75 years into the past to start the campaign. So we're before all of the events of the novel. And so there's explaining a what-if scenario. So unlike the acclaimed Dune, which tells the story of the House Atreides, it's going to be your house. So, and a little bit confusing, I think there was a naming change. So Agents of Dune, the agents and architects are kind of these two levels that this game plays at. Agents are kind of your character's boots on the ground, directly controlling one character. Architect level is controlling your house. So when you're doing your spice harvesting, your spice production, or espionage, or things on a more larger scale where there'll be many agents involved, it's more an architect level. So it changes the game. The game works on a couple of different, well, there's actually several different scales. From one-on-one one-on-one dueling to a completely planetary, doing planetary warfare with massive armies. So the naming mistake that they made, so this is now called Agents of Dune because, your players are agents at the agent level. And in the book, it's listed as Heirs of Dune. So I don't know if in a later printing if they're going to correct that, but it may be a little confusing because you'll see references. So here's the rulebook. Inside the rulebook, this box is referred to as Heirs of Dune. So just to try to help that confusion. So of course, this is a 2D20 system, but a little bit different from what Modiphius has done before, and like I was explaining, a little more abstract. Because it can play at different levels, so it's not actually just your character that you're controlling. And the other thing that are missing are the challenge dice, the D6 challenge dice with the symbols on them of either damage or effect and special effect. So those don't exist. So everything is done using rolls of 2d20 or more. So in the box, we've got the character folios. We'll look at our adventure booklet. So card decks with NPCs, and then assets. So these are things that, will kind of come and go. And asset generation is a very important part of the system. So assets can be tangible or intangible. So a physical thing like a weapon or a machine or transportation, or intangible like knowledge or information, or even like a stance in a duel, or just an insult even could be an intangible asset, like having insulted someone to have some sort of effect. And then trait cards and traits. Another thing you will track, and you will keep track of giving thing traits. So if you create an asset of an insult, the target of that asset, or who you use that asset on, could be compromised or embarrassed or enraged as a trait, and that will give you some sort of advantage, or you can figure out mechanically or narratively how that changes things. And so here's all of the tokens that they're giving you. And a lot of them are to keep track of they have a spice mining system. And all the handouts and trackers, and then of course the custom dice with the worm on them. So is the worm 20? Possibly. And then there's a code for the PDF. And this ends with, once everyone is settled and ready and has chosen a character, the Game Master should open the adventure booklet to the first page and begin preparation for the adventure. The last page of this folio contains useful, tables and charts for reference when you run the game. they will all make more sense as you play. So here's the introduction, and there it is. So yeah, you could do that, and then you would have the effect of what I was talking about, a GM screen. So they really are saying, open the book to page 1. So yeah, I guess the process they were saying, have each everyone will play their own character and choose. So it's pre-gen. They give you 5 pre-gen characters of this House Nagara, and you can play what suits you. That's nice, those rules. So yeah, here's the idea. So conflict, the mechanisms of conflict work on every level, from personal, meaning social conflict, skirmish, meaning small groups to warfare, and then espionage and intrigue. So I think personal is now more often listed as dueling. So they've played a little bit with some of the vocabulary from the early days, and explaining how attacking works and moving assets, use of assets, and then determinations. A determination is a currency, a point that can give you, that has it has to be powered by kind of your character's beliefs, but it can give you powerful actions during the game. So let's see how this goes. So I'm imagining trying to run this. We've read through this and kind of, set the table. You guys are House Nagara, or, you can change the name, I'm sure, but you're going to look like these guys and choose a character. So here's 114 pages, under 16 pages. Yeah, so a softcover booklet, and I think there's the code is right there. The code for the PDF. So yeah, it's okay quality, nice artwork presented. Yeah, and very similar. Oh, yes. And so this is, the license is, I think, kind of piggybacking on the Gale Force 9 and the Legendary license, because the look of this, the kind of art direction and design of a lot of the things is very similar to what they did in the movies, of course, with no likenesses of any of the actors. So they didn't pay for likenesses, so you won't see Timothée Chalamet or anybody like that in the book, but the look is that more minimalist, abstract, simplified kind of, less Baroque, I think, than other versions of Dune you've seen. And so here's the contents. So setting up the game, a note for experienced game masters, and then adapting the adventure. And so Act 1 is the allies. Oh yeah, so there is 3 acts. Is it 3? Yes. 3 acts, and each act has 3 parts. So here's Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And basically breaking things down. So you're going to go a piece at a time. So let's see how they present this. So we won't spoil anything in case you're wanting to play this. We'll just kind of give you so your house is taking over Arrakis, and they're going to give you some story to play through. So setting up the game. So the game is designed to let you play out of the box right now. So before you go any further, gather together a group of people up to 6, and then carry on as instructed. This is interesting. So kind of blow by blow, huh? All right. So before reading this book, you should begin by reading the Countess's letter, which we saw. Read this first to set the story. It says, read this first at the top. Follow the instructions there. Well, you would choose who among you will be the game master. So you just throw the box on the table and say, who wants to run this? And each of the players should choose one of the 5 characters to play. The box and all of the components should remain with the game master, and then we'll instruct you when to reveal them. I guess you're like punching out tokens in the middle of a session, which is a little odd. The role of the game master, and which character each player plays, will be fixed from this point on. So choose your pre-gen, and that's who you are. Make sure you're happy with your choice. The game master will be reading the adventure and offering players choices as they come up. And so they're already saying they're giving you sidebars here. So in this each page, you will see a rule sidebar, a setting sidebar, and a direction sidebar. So this will give you, in explaining a quick summary of the rules, this will help you with the Dune setting if you're not familiar with the universe. And this is arguably the most important. So this will be what to do, when to present cards, what handouts to give. So these are the things that the GM will be instructed to do. Yeah, so it looks like everything is going to be, so there'll be text boxes to read, and then they'll kind of give you details about maybe choices that the characters are going to be making. And so here's their note for experienced game masters. So this adventure is designed to teach the game master how to play Dune as they go. If you're already familiar with the rules, you may skip over some of the instructions and run things a little differently. You may even wish to create your own characters and house to play this adventure. So that's not a bad idea if you already have the core rulebook, if you use the code and download the rulebook, or if you have the rulebook in addition and are familiar with the rules. You may want, because it'll give the players deeper connection to their characters and kind of more investment in what they're doing, go through the rules of creating a house and creating characters. You may want to use the pre-gens as kind of a guideline to the types of characters that will be useful, because I'm sure the adventure is catered to this 5 groups of players. So if you have something that's missing, if there's a doctor in here and you don't have a doctor, or if there's a swords master and you don't have a swords master, that might change the adventure in a little bit more difficult, make it a little more difficult. So adapting, so yeah, they're saying this can be used without all the pre-written. If you want to adapt this adventure to a more usual campaign where your characters are not taking over Arrakis completely, you can scale the adventure down. In this case, the player's character's house take over a large franchise spice harvesting operation under Harkonnen governorship. So yeah, you can kind of scale things down to, you are not House Atreides. You're not taking the role of House Atreides. It's a smaller scale. There's you're managing a piece of Dune. You're given a piece. And so, they're going, so here's the instructions. So we'll go through. So what have they set up so far? Yeah, they're just kind of setting up the world and your powerful house. And so the Game Master should read out each of the following devices. So we're kind of equipping the characters here with either a rifle, a thelioscope, a blight scanner, and nightshade. Yeah, and they're explaining. Oh yeah, so read out. So actually, like reading rules. So here's kind of getting you familiar with the terminology. So your skills, you have 4 skills. You'll have focuses possibly in the skills. Then you will have drives. So every roll, the target number that you're rolling under is a skill plus a drive with a focus that can generate multiple successes. So you're rolling 2d20 under your target number is a success. 1 or under your focus is 2 successes. Critical. All right, and yeah, so with a quick rule summary, and kind of explaining, because narratively the characters are kind of allowed to choose. The game master can say, very specifically, you're rolling this, and maybe the instructions in here will say have the characters roll this, but in the full game and in more narratively, you can ask the characters to kind of choose their drive, because characters can kind of decide their own motivation. If they're doing it for their house, if they're doing it for their faith, if they're just seeking truth or better position, or if they're justice based, if they're trying to do what's fair. So let's just take a look at a few pages of the example, and we'll kind of flip through to give you an idea of what the book looks like, but I don't want to spoil too much if you are a player, if you haven't taken the Game Master role. So, shuttle simulation. So you're going to do some training here. In this scene, the players must try to save themselves when their shuttle suffers a critical failure and starts to crash. So there are also enemy agents on board to deal with. That won't be explained. Yeah, so these big brown boxes you're reading aloud. So that's a lot to read, but I guess, there's a lot of information you want to convey about the setting and this, setting up the story, and then what the problems are. So finding the problem. Oh yeah, so here's the setting, talking about thinking machines. So there are no computers. And then the appearance of enemies, explaining how personal shields work. Here's the momentum description. And that's a currency in 2d20. I think it appears, and it's called the same thing in most of the 2d20 games, but it's a currency generated by extra successes. So if you score more than you need for the difficulty of a roll, most things are 1 or 2 successes needed, difficulty 1 or 2. You generate momentum. In some games that's personal, and in some games it's a shared pool. I think more recently it's a shared pool, but I believe it was a personal thing in John Carter. And so they explain reveal, momentum, and then threat is the kind of the same thing, but the currency that the GM uses. And they call it threat because you can use it to work against the characters to reinforce things, give NPCs better rules in combat against your player characters. And then focus. Yeah, so it doesn't look like it's giving too much away, but this is how things are presented. And so here we go. Here's an example of, they're basically telling you, an understand test, difficulty 2. So this is the skill you're using, and it is letting the players decide, which of their drives they're using in this. So that's good. That'll help the role play, I think. Oh, interesting. And here's some boxes on the side. If you're only playing this once, boxes on the side to keep track of what was successful and what wasn't. So fixed or failed in these different tests. So you keep track of the results of the test. Interesting. And here we're revealing NPCs for this session, or for this part of the session. All right. Oh, and they do give you here stat blocks for NPCs. And so you'll see even the NPCs have drive statements, which they can use for determination. And this is also very narrative. There's a little bit of, they do this quite often, a summary kind of background of the character, but this is the kind of core of like how you may want to role play the characters, because these are their basic beliefs. And Star Trek had something quite similar to kind of flesh out the role playing. So here's all of our stats. We're already at part 2 of Act 1. They're explaining what a mimic field is. Oh yeah, and then here's explaining a little bit more drives and drive statements. So maybe you want to use, so using like determination to get those built-in, the built-in critical success is something you want to use in very important roles, because you only have 1 point of determination each session. Although there are some abilities that let you regenerate it. So it goes on with the boxes and kind of step by step. And it seems like there is enough guidance to make this work. And they give you, a little bit of an interlude, so maybe some healing time. Yeah, and then the epilogue of the first act. Wow, so that's already Act 1. So we'll just go through, say they continue the same kind of format. It looks like a lot to read aloud. And I guess because they're saying play as you go, this is more of like a reading, a choose your own adventure kind of thing. You're using the mechanics and rolling dice. But the GM is just going to be reading a lot of stuff out loud. And hopefully you can pick up, there's enough instruction here. If they're mentioning some technology or something to the setting, they'll kind of support that here, just in case your characters are like, what's that? And you actually have never heard of that before. And it's interesting, they give you places, little check boxes to mark the status of everything. So remember your abilities. So while conflict may be new to the group, it still involves tests and talents and momentum. But remember, a lot of things give you better advantage, better rolls and things. And also kind of mechanics about how you spend the currency. Interesting, so here's a negotiation with Chom, which we did. I think I actually used this section, which we did in our game. We kind of go back and forth and you're negotiating prices. And so this is, we'll take a look at the assets, but this is something that you can kind of, it's an abstract, you're having a discussion, you're debating with the Chom agent, the prices of your, how your goods are going to be taxed, the price you're going to get for your, in this case, spice. And it works well, but you're marking it kind of abstractly, and we'll take a look at that on the maps and handouts. Yeah, because this is the NPC that I used for that negotiation. Yeah, nice. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff if you're just playing a regular campaign and you don't really want to play through this handing over Dune or even a part of it for your players. There are useful things to take from here and kind of modify to get them to work how you'd like, and especially at the table, a lot of the physical materials in the box I think will be useful. Yeah, interesting. So how everything goes. We got another NPC here. Looks like things are going badly. An assassination. Yeah, so that's the thing too. Is because this is a very there's a lot of intrigue and a risk of assassination. Members of a noble family or house are in danger. They when they have dinner, there's poison snoopers at the table to check that everything there eating is not going to kill them. So you're constantly under threat, and depending on how powerful your house is. So those things, character deaths and especially NPC deaths, are not rare in this game. And I think that's nice because it makes it very, the stakes are high, and you feel in danger, so you don't trust the NPC's motives, and even the other players' motives can be a little bit suspect, because everyone is trying to help their station and help and maybe struggling for control of the house. And so we're already into the end, so probably going to get into a big conflict in Act 3. So yeah, all this brown stuff you're seeing is stuff that you would be reading as a GM. And then, this is to help explain, when the rolls go well and stuff. Yeah, and we even have some conversations. And then, oh, nice. So here's all of the NPCs that they brought up. So that's nice. They give you these kind of stat cards. And I think they even have these stats on the back of the smaller playing cards. So already into part 2. Okay, good. So less reading. Oh, there more reading. Yes. Oh, and see, they're saying, kind of giving you what you should read and what things happen. If your characters are asking, what's an ornithopter, what's a carryall, what are harvesters, they give you something to read to them so you don't have to. And you can paraphrase a lot of this stuff too if you want to give it a unique feel, or the session if you want to do something else. And yeah, so here's tables to use for the spice harvesting process, and they have attack of Fremen, attack of worms as part of the mechanics. So that seemed to work. Okay, yeah, it was fun enough and random enough that and it was nice because the characters didn't quite know how the mechanics of what they were doing worked, just like they would be in that situation, being handed over a spice field and saying, okay, see how it goes. All right. So the last part of Act 3. Yeah, so still a lot. And a lot of this you're not going to be reading unless it comes up. Yeah, it obviously says, when this happens, then this. It looks like a hunter-seeker. All kinds of assassination. All right. Yeah, and that's the very end. And they even have a conclusion. So read out loud, depending on how many points you scored. And that's it. Yeah, that's it for the adventure. So yeah, it seemed playable. The parts of this that we kind of used for our campaign worked well. I don't know right out of the box. This might be a little slow. I'm not sure how long it would take to actually get through all 3 acts, because some pretty major stuff happens in the adventure, and it might catch some of the players off guard. So overall, I think this is a good first experience. You may, if you a good way to see if you like this game, just getting through the first act, playing the pre-gen characters may give you a good taste of the game. But I think you're probably either, okay, let's see how this finishes off if you're enjoying the story, or let's just reset and do our own thing. So in that sense, it is a starter set. It's kind of a taster, or like an experience. And I guess that's why they're calling it an experience, a campaign experience, because I don't think you might not be completely satisfied running this house for a longer campaign. But as what is this 2D20 Dune like? I think this might be a good representation. Running it straight out of the box, though, I think you're gonna have some questions. You may be cracking open that core rulebook or that PDF to clarify or to get a really concrete idea. I think they keep things pretty simplified because I don't think they don't go into warfare or very complicated espionage or anything, and things are explained to you step by step. So it is a walkthrough, kind of a walkthrough kind of tutorial of the game in a 3-act adventure. And as you could see from the illustrations, obviously, combat comes up, assassination comes up. So all of the elements of the Dune setting are in there. So let's look at these character folios. So really nice art, and these are a heavier stock paper, not card, but a heavier paper stock. So we have Shizu Nagara, a martial noble. I've got a little portrait and then her stats. And these are nice. These are really well produced and a lot of information for the setting and the characters. Oh, nice. And on the back of the folio is a similar kind of rules summary, and to help you understand what the meaning of the skills and drives are, and what difficulties are going to mean in skill tests, and then traits. So the things that the players need to know. Jiro Nagara. So they'll have Japanese names, but they're all like indeterminate racially. The charismatic noble. So not the fighter, but he does have a dog. And of course they have the banner. So each house you need to create your own banner. So Nagara already has their banner, and it looks like this is the same summary. So this is the same kind of background and setting for the world, and then this type of stuff is for your character specifically. So here's a young noble and the same rule summary on the back. So our Gurney Halleck, Zafir Kalas, the Swordmaster. Yeah, the same summary, his background, his stats. All right, I think we've got 2 more. Natalia Khan, a Mentat. So here, you probably want a Mentat. So the advisor to the house. All right, and our last one. Oh, a Bene Gesserit Spymaster. There we go. So yeah, we have a Mentat and a Bene Gesserit, a Swordmaster, a martial noble, and then a charming noble, a talker, a face. So Alice Dominica, the sister. So you can belong to a house, and you can also belong to a faction. So you can be a Bene Gesserit or a Gnaz Swordmaster, a Suk Doctor, and I think there's one more faction that you can also be allied to. So that's fun in the roleplay sense, because you may have kind of dual loyalties, and you'll need to decide, and maybe you'll explain that a little bit in some of your drive statements. House above all, or the Bene Gesserit is my family. You can make it clear, where your character's allegiance really lies. So those are the five folios, and those are decent and a nice, like gender-wise. I think we've got a decent enough variation, and they're really nice. Yeah, nice quality and rule summary. Okay, so here are some dashboards. Some art. Oh, that's like 2-sided. See, look at that, Hasbro. 2-sided. So this is your threat tracker and momentum use. Nice. Yeah, so this is the maximum. You can only hold 6 momentum. So it's a shared pool of 6 momentum. So it explains how you can use this, and you'll see how many you have. So you're constantly like swapping tokens off of this. And what is this? This is for your spice harvesting. So I guess this card is going to be used for the amount. The success of your spice harvesting, and a little brochure. This is a little bit different paper quality, a little unfinished, uncoated paper, and kind of giving you the stats of Dune, a travel brochure. And I see a little bit of background. I don't know why it's in a brochure like this. Oh, you're headed to Dune? Here, read this first. But yeah, a little bit of a summary. This seems a little unnecessary, but maybe. If you have 0 experience of this setting, the GM can give you this, and you can see a little bit about the planet, but it's so little. But they, use the art well. But yeah, explaining there's the two cities. Water is a problem. It's all desert. How you the transportation, and beware of sandworms. That's interesting. I don't know how useful that is. All right, and here's a report. So this looks like another handout. So yeah, this is a so the CHOAM audit. So it gives you a this is probably what results from your negotiation with CHOAM, and a letter. So yeah, we have almost a Call of Cthulhu level of handouts. That's nice. I mean, I like seeing that. Blade Runner is doing that really well with handouts. Of course, Call of Cthulhu has always done that well. So it's fun if you're going to do a box to put a lot of junk in it. Here's a dirty note. There is no more you can do to us. We have nothing to lose. I think a Fremen wrote this. That's nice. Two-sided. Look at that. The dirty back of the paper. All right. So here's all of your tokens. So punching these out in a session is not great. But yeah, here is your... So here's sandworms and two-sided tokens. Everything looks the same. Oh yeah, so these are the holdings, like the spice blows and your harvesters, but underneath then are the and I'm punching things out already. Are the qualities, like either a +1 or a -1, or yeah, what's going on. And here's things with the house symbols. So Harkonnen, and I think that's not. Yeah. Oh, these must be momentum. So threat must be the worms, and momentum. Oh no, I guess threat, because you can only have 6, so you'll never need more than 6. So this must be momentum. Worms are momentum, so worms must be good on the dice. And then the eye of Ibaz is threat. Interesting. Oh no, there is more. So I wonder which is which. I think worms seem more threatening. Eyes seem useful. I don't know. So here's your map. So this is where these tokens go. So here's a two-sided map. This works for the spice mining. So here's the locations, the blows, and so the characters decide. So you put these tokens face down with a 0, +1, -1 kind of thing on them, and the characters choose where to mine, and they roll for success and complications and things. And then here is when you're attacking the factory. So this is kind of a general location. So you see, it's barely representing. Oh no, this is actually. Oh no, it is an attack. Yeah, because it's the whole production of ingots. Yeah, so I don't think we use this part of the adventure, but you'll see that it's represented very abstractly. So it's just telling you which places are connected. So you can move from here to here, you can move from here to here. So these are all zones that things happen in, and you can move assets depending on success. One zone, you can use momentum sometimes to move an additional zone. So you're putting things into play and effect. So this may actually be a manufacturing process that we didn't use, but the negotiation map will look like this as well. So this is very similar to these kind of abstract maps, and this is coded. This is looks like an A3 coded page. That's nice. Oh yeah, and here's more abstraction. And the first time I really did not explain this well. The first time we used this, but this is a duel. So here's your two characters, that essentially the target. This is their shield or their weapon. If they're two-handed, they have like a weapon on each side, and basically you're moving the weapon. You're moving a weapon is an asset, so you're moving your weapon into this zone to parry, or to try to disarm them, or just to attack them. If you get past, if you're successful and can move additionally past, once you're here, then you attack with your weapon, and you're basically. It's an extended task to take somebody out in a duel. So there's kind of, parry, riposte, you're kind of, depending on the success of your roll, it's one movement at a time in a more abstract way, but it's the same rolls and the same things you're doing, even if you're doing on a skirmish level, where it's areas on a map instead of just your left and right side and your head, essentially. And this can be left and right, but it'll also be high and low. It's just a zone, what you're keeping in a zone and what is used. So yeah, you have two guards and then your target. And if an asset is moved into the target, then it can be used against the person. And here is our negotiation map. Yeah, so basically you have tokens that represent influence that you're kind of moving into the, and so here's your 5 members of your house. Some be played as NPCs if you don't have 5 players. And these are ways to approach the negotiation. These are the different skills: understand, discipline, or communicate. Your things start in here, and they basically the negotiators trying to knock out the players from the negotiation. You shouldn't be here. You don't have authority. Whatever the kind of attack would be. Well, you're trying to get your assets into one of these and make a successful test, thereby accomplishing getting a better price, getting a lower tax. But it's more abstracted. But this is a nice way to keep track of how things are going. So those are the 2 maps. Oh, here we go. We've got stands. So I think we've got cards. We're standing up. Let's take a look how these are done. Yeah, very standard. Doesn't look like they're gonna put any creases or pinches on the cards. That's nice. Sometimes these can be a little aggressive and put gouges in your cards. Here's our Arrakis style dice. Okay, so let's answer this once and for all. Nope, the worm is good. I think the worm, I don't know. Yeah, because 20 is a failure. And so the worm is a 1 or a critical success. Huh, interesting. They chose that. The worm is a 1. So yeah, nice 2d20s, a little stylish font to kind of match the look of the game. Yeah, very very similar to their John Carter dice, their dice for Star Trek. Nice, a little glossy, nice weight. Oh, so yeah, I guess there's a big insert in here, so things will fit. So, and we're down to the cards already. So that's it. Yeah, so things will fit. Wow, not as full as I thought, but it's nice that things were just banging around. Some box sets, yeah, they don't bother. It's nice that these were, everything is nested in here, so it's not just knocking against each other, because a lot of times that can cause wear on some of the other paper products. So let's take a look at these decks. So these are going to be assets, NPCs, traits, all kind of good stuff. I think I have a deck of the asset cards. Yes. So yeah, we'll talk about the price at the end here. So here is an asset. This would be a tangible money, moon necklace, and then what? This must come into play because it's engraved with something of meaning. So this must come into play in the adventure. Oh, and here's the and these might be just the assets. Yeah, the assets that can be given at the beginning, and a list of what they are, what they do, a little bit of an explanation. These cards, I think, used in that when we're showing the negotiation. So here's your wares. This is basically your spice or whatever you're having Chom assess. So you're putting these in the different places as your assets on the map and using them against Chom. Callum's message. I'm not spoiling any of this. We got some Harkonnen cards here. What are these? So worker gangs. So these will be the kind of abstract groups. Ooh, and decoy. Oh, I guess. Oh, so maybe, yeah, we didn't. I didn't spoil any of the adventures. You may be sieging a factory, and these are the different locations. So you find out if you're going to be dealing with workers or a decoy. You may be looking for someone amongst those zones on that factory map. From an attitude card. So +1, difficulty -1. Oh yeah. So depending on how you've dealt with them, you can keep track of that. Oh, and here's injuries. So yeah, if you're injured, you get +1 difficulty to everything is your complication. So here's attitude from an NPC. Impress. So yeah, a lot of these are going to be very specific to to the adventure in the booklet. So not a lot of reuse. They're not not very generic. Low market infiltration. And here's the different NPCs assessments of you. Oh, here's another condition, shaken. So mechanically, how does shaken work? Your character is shaken the next time you make a roll test, you must return this card to the game master. When you do, the difficulty of the test is increased by 1. Yeah, so you get 1 time difficulty. And here's the Chom influence of this what's moved on that negotiation map for Chom, and just represents yeah, kind of this is their asset and what that how they use it. So here's those three. So you have I think you have 5 things that you're trying to. Each of the characters can be moving one, and here's the Chom influence that comes to be used against you to kind of take you out of the negotiation. Stories of Harkonnen violence, Harkonnen secrets. So here's the asset card, still suits, and then so on the back it explains how it's used as an asset, so it makes it possible to be in the desert. A las gun, electronics kit, Kinjal, Hunter Seeker. Yeah, so that design, looks like it's straight from the Dune movies. So they were allowed to replicate some of those. All right, here's this last deck. Looks like more assets. I think we're going to see some NPCs in here. So a dart gun, and then how that works as an asset. And also keywords too. So this will let you know like what you're able to do with it. If you want to conceal it, yeah, it's small, so it can be concealed. It's a ranged weapon, and it won't draw attention because it's quiet. Your paracompass, yeah, there's your poison snooper right there. Your fiber rope, your pulse swords, Mala pistol. Yeah, these designs look very similar to the prop designs in the movie. Yep, the glow globe, memo quarter, emergency transmitter, personal shields, and oh yeah, here Nightshade. This was one of the assets at the beginning, and espionage. A new form of oil lens that lets the users see clearly, even in pitch darkness. Ooh, night vision. The Nightshades, yeah. So blight scanner. Oh no, this is just so these are the assets at the beginning that can be distributed. And then the Nogra. Mala rifle. All right. So here's, kind of generic. Here's the stats for a generic Harkonnen soldier. Your house soldier has some generic stats, and you see very little drives because you're mostly using them abstractly. And here we go. So here's some spice smugglers that look very similar, but they have little stats in the back. And then here we go. So Musa Haran. So these are NPCs from the book. Another Bene Gesserit's sister, Garrick. Yeah. Nice art. We're going to use this for character art for our campaign, but there just wasn't enough of these, unfortunately, in the digital version of this set. Ooh, the Baron. They stat out the Baron. And here's, the Countess. Yeah, you aren't playing. That's right. This is who sends the letter. So this is an NPC. So the Countess, the ruler of your house, no one will play, but here are her stats. Some more NPCs, a lab technician, a revolt leader, factory worker. Here's that Chom negotiator, your chief scientist, Harkonnen captain, your low market contact, Harkonnen mentat, Harkonnen battle advisor, behavioral advisor. Yes, I think you're interacting a lot because it's the handover, so I think you're interacting a lot with Harkonnen. And here are cards that represent the pre-gens that we looked at in the folios, and so these are what go in the stands. And so in the situations where you need to use zones for your characters, you can even use like simplified kind of battle maps if you're going to be in any sort of combat. It doesn't look like the combat's too heavy in this adventure. And then a little reminder of the stats, none of the background or anything, but your stats and drives are in the back here. So yeah, and having these like standing up in front of you, you can very quickly, you won't have to flip your folio, you can very quickly put together your drive and skill for rolls. Yeah, so these are nice, and they do kind of a little metallic effect in some of the, so nice production. Oh yeah, so that is it. The cards are the last things we're dealing with. So now, of course, when they do the spreads, like on the back of this box, they show everything spread out. It looks like a table full of stuff, but once you go through it, it's enough to run their adventure. And it's, of course, nice quality. Everything is done well. Get a lot of tokens. And this is nice for keeping track of. If you're not playing digitally, if you're not playing on a virtual tabletop, this is nice to have something physical to, so you can see the amount of threat that's building up. You can see, how much shared momentum you have. They did a nice job. There's nice handouts for things, but this is going to be, it's one of those things you're not going to with the same group, you're not going to use it more than once. There are resources in here. I think you can always use these tokens. So if you do play the full game, you're going to be using these tokens for every session. I don't know how many times you're going to give out the brochure. So a lot of this is kind of introductory stuff. This is pretty nice to put in the middle of the table to remind people of momentum uses and stuff, so they're not having to check the book. This will only be, if you're spice mining. And it looks, I think it's enough. It's not incredibly varied, but this is a pretty functional house, pre-gen characters. And of course, they're built for this adventure, so obviously you're going to be doing some negotiating, you're going to need some combat, you're going to need some infiltration or espionage. So you have a spy master. So yeah, I think this would work. So is this gonna make you want to play more Dune? Maybe. I really have a feeling, though, just going through the materials, I don't know, depending on how the adventure, because we didn't look at the details of the adventure because I didn't want to spoil it, but going through the 3 acts of the adventure, you may stop at a certain point and say, let's do our own thing. Or you may just play this and say, okay, we played Dune. It was a game. It was different. The system is very different from a D20, a traditional, like a 5e fantasy game or something. It is much more abstract. I think this will help you. It's an interesting tutorial, and like tutorials for mobile games or things, it will let you play something that this is going to be very different from what you would have come up with on your own, as far as your own house and then the adventures that they get involved in. There's useful things. I've taken a lot of pieces out of this adventure to use in our campaign, so it's useful. There's a lot of tokens, things that can be used on the table for a lot of different settings, and the asset cards will always be useful. Those are kind of default assets that will reoccur, except for the specific Nagara technology. But so then the question is the price. So this is a little bit higher end when it comes to starter sets. So it's about $60 US, about 45 pounds British. So it's pricey. It's nice quality. If you can get it at a discount, it may be worth it, because you do get the 5 dice, and these dice are never cheap. So you do get the 5 dice, and you're only ever rolling 5 d20s. So you'll have all the d20s, with the nice Dune theming that you'll ever need. Everything easily fits in the box because there was a huge spacer in there. But it's the booklet. You can run this for multiple groups, and I think it might be a good taste. It is definitely an experience. So this may be the thing that lets the players decide, whether they want to do the full thing. It's enough of being able to jump in, having a house set up, because that will take an entire session to create your characters in your house and kind of get yourself into the story in your setting. And also, if you don't know the Dune setting, the GM explaining, or other players explaining to each other the details, the technology, like how things are working in the setting, it's going to take some time. And the adventure seems to do that enough. You're going to know what Chom is. You're probably going to have interaction with the Bene Gesserit. You're going to know Harkonnen and Dune's the planet Dune's role in everything. So yeah, and I mean, maybe half of these things you'll be able to reuse. I think the negotiation map is a nice abstract thing where if you're not looking at the text on it, you can use it as locations for doing almost any social interaction. You could use the same structure of this negotiation map, the sand map, the factory map. They're a little bit specific, but they may have some reuse. A lot of useful cards. So the cards, tokens, and dice, I think, are the most useful thing. A lot of the rest of it seems to be much more single use. $60 though, it's a little steep. But I have seen it discounted. In fact, I got this quite discounted. And that's what led me to pick it up, because I didn't know. I wanted to approach our group with this and do what they said, and as an experiment, play right out of the box. I ended up playing Dune with the online group. We didn't do that, and I'm kind of glad we didn't, because I'm wondering if some of the players would have said, "Let's not do Dune," because we're 15 sessions into a nice long campaign, and it's because we did it together and kind of made it our own, and with so much decided for you. It may flavor it one way or another, and it may not be to everyone's liking. So I think I can see some of the players in the current group now, being a little turned off by how this is presenting the game. Because I don't want to play this game, and we were able to really make it our own and kind of immerse ourselves in what's going on. That being said, I mean, I don't know if you need this. I don't know if you need to start here. And I think there even is a quick start. They have the adventure that was the quick start, Planetfall, Desertfall, that was part of their Kickstarter or early promotion. I can't remember if they kickstarted this. Some IPs don't want you to do that. That was also a pretty good introduction. You're kind of a forward team for House Atreides. They give you a few pre-gens to play, and it's kind of a mystery. Before anything has really gotten dangerous. It's a little mystery to solve in the palace before the royal Atreides family arrives. That's a pretty short and sweet introduction to that. I think that would give you as much of a taste as this does, although this does go into the mechanics of the prosperity of your house, how to negotiate, your prices for your goods in the market and things. So there's a bit more involved here, and you can see how the scale of this, I think, shows you how big the game can get. The first starting adventure is it's very small. But you may be better off just going with the book, but you do get the PDF in this box. There's a code in the box. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not super positive on this. It's really nice production quality, but it's very specific. They didn't make everything in here general use. But like I said, there are bits and pieces you can take out of this adventure to use in your own. So that may extend the use of this box. The tokens are great. I think that's nice to have on a table. A lot of the physical things are nice to have instead of just doing hash marks on paper or using glass beads or pennies or something. But yeah, I love the game. I mean, I really like the game. I think it's interesting. It's unusual. They're pushing the 2D20 a bit further, and I think Dune has made Modiphius rethink Star Trek. So the Star Trek second edition is eliminating the D6s as well. So no more challenge dice in Star Trek. So second edition will be more similar to Dune, where it's pure D20s. So I think this was a nice step forward for that their 2D20 system. But this is a product, I would not pay full price. If you can get it cheaper, it's a great value for those dice, and the cards will be useful. And even the NPCs, I think those NPCs can be very replayable. That would be nice to have, to just draw from and have them statted out and on a physical card. That would be nice. But this is a very different approach. I think they were wise to not call it a starter set. So I think people buying this as a starter set would be very frustrated that there's not a rule book in here. It's a tutorial basically, and but it is a taste. And maybe this is all you need. This is all you will ever need to do with Dune. This was enough. I got a taste of it, and that's fine, because then you don't have to go through the whole process of thinking up. Because for some groups and some people, that is a bit of a burden. I don't want to make it my own. I just want to roll some dice and have some fun playing, a type of a character that I kind of have a general idea of what they're made of, what their motivations are. So this may be enough, because it takes a lot of that world building and also problem solving about how do you want to do Dune? How do you want to work around the limitations of the setting? but looks good, matches, what's going on. There's a third movie coming, so there's still going to be more Dune. It's funny, though, this whole thing got so delayed because, during the movies were release dates were shifted, and 2020 was going to be a year of Dune releases and ended up being delayed a few years. And I can't remember. I think this did come out after. After they did the... I don't think there was a crowdfunder because they did covers. They did limited edition covers that were specific to retailers or different, retail sources. So I think this didn't go to crowdfunding, but it did have a quick start early release. I think maybe in the pre-order process. So there's a lot of ways and there's a lot of support for this game. They have already gone through supplements that are the Landsraad Great Houses, all of the details of Dune, more of the kind of intrigue of dealing with the Emperor. And then in addition to the types of players you can play in your house, they've already included now face dancers and chome agents, and there's a lot of extra navigators, guild member navigators. There's a lot of other types of characters that they will let you play that may not fit into a house. So they're trying to add as much as possible to kind of give everybody every type of thing that they'd like to do in the house. And similar, I guess if this is a starting point, these may just be jumping off characters, because similar to Star Trek, you can create supporting characters and people that you can kind of switch between, that players can change their focus. So if you're just going to start with this house as your basis and then let the players make a secondary character that somehow fits into what's going on at the house, or comes in story-wise from somewhere else, that may be a way to make this enough of your own, using this as a base, as is, because there is that's kind of what it's experiencing now. Is some of our original PCs have gotten married, and so now they have wives that are supporting characters that they can play as, and there's additional like assistants to the scientists and things that have all been statted out, and then that lets you have a lot more flexibility with how to spend the advancement points, which are the XP of the game. But this is odd. And from the start, they had this in mind, obviously, because it's referenced in the core book, but they may have changed a little bit, at least changing the naming, so maybe it was less confusing. So it's not longer the heirs of Dune, it's the agents of Dune that you're dealing with. A good taste. I think a good taste for the game. If you just want to see what the game is like, you can get your hands on this cheaply or go in on this. Everybody throws in a few bucks and pays for this. This would be fun to have at a table. It's got enough physical pieces to it. It's worth, if you're going through this adventure, to have it. But I think it's not incredibly necessary. But if you have trouble introducing games to people, because you can't throwing the core rule book for the game, if you just throw this at somebody, I don't think you're going to get to the table anytime soon. The core rule book, there's a lot there, and this working as a tutorial to walk people through it, I think might get people excited about the possibilities, but I think you might not finish this. You'll jump out and you'll go for the house building, planet building in the core book. So and the PDF is in here, so you can read the full rules, and that may also be, especially for the GM, if you just have this and you run this and you say, how does some of this work? And I'm not sure how I like some of these things. Reading the kind of full explanation and kind of a deeper use of maybe a lot of these mechanics may help. So a very I'm a little lukewarm, and especially after opening it up, I was expecting it to be packed solid, because it felt that's cardboard spaces. It felt like a pretty significant box, but there's not a crazy amount in there. Useful, but I can't say enough about the game. I enjoy the game very much. It's fun to run. The world is huge and expansive, and especially with all the strange details that Brian Herbert has added to it, it can get a little pulpy even, because I think the stuff that they've added to the setting is not quite true to the original tone of his father's stuff. But it makes it, when you're kind of cherry picking and looking for things in that, it makes some interesting little flavor, and also helps you kind of put events in order, or kind of sort out some of the history of the setting that Frank Herbert didn't a lot of details that weren't filled in. And you can also make it fit it to your taste, but it does go a little bit away from this kind of more refined kind of human beings as the most important asset, the human possibility and human abilities as being this amazing thing to explore. The supplemental stuff goes away from that and becomes more just traditional sci-fi kind of post-apocalypse or kind of downfall mechanics. But so take a look at our actual play if you'd like to see how we interpreted this and how we built our Dune world. I'll put a link to the playlist in the description for this. And this has been Dune Agents, the role-playing campaign experience by Modiphius. So a little pricey, not a lot of replayability, but some useful. Do this again. Some useful materials inside that you'll keep at the table when you start doing a full campaign. And just like the Brian Herbert books, there's stuff in this adventure that you can pull out and is quite useful. I think works very well in the system itself. But wait, there's more. So I know this video has been long enough. I think an hour on a box set is good, but I wanted to be complete to give you the full picture of what's out there. And so I wanted to tell you about Masters of Dune. So Masters of Dune is a campaign book that extends the Agents of Dune box set. And so let's take a look at this real quick. So to give you a more full experience of your house running Dune, and of course then dealing with other factions and the lurking Harkonnen threat. And as you can see, all of this design is very similar to the Villeneuve films. So it's definitely the same license. So what is this? The battle for Arrakis begins. Your house has claimed the wealth of Arrakis, but can they hold on to that power when so many want to take it from them? You have already uncovered a deadly enemy, but plenty more covet what you have worked so hard to control. You are going to need allies, but who can you trust? The mysterious Bene Gesserit, the elusive Spacing Guild, or perhaps even the Emperor himself? But each faction has their own agenda, and a knife in the shadows lies behind every smile. So continuing the alternate what-if scenario begun in Agents of Dune, the stakes become higher as deadly enemies seek the downfall of your house to claim Arrakis and the power of spice for themselves. The player characters must leave the desert world of Arrakis and travel across the Imperium to get the support they need to fight their enemies. As each section of the campaign can be done in any order, it is very much up to the players to decide on the best plan of action and lead their house into glory or destruction. So Masters of Dune is a epic 172-page campaign that can be run on its own or as a continuation of the Agents of Dune box set. So play as the renowned House Nagara or create a new house of your own to tame Arrakis. So over the campaign's 9 explosive chapters, your characters will seek elusive Fremen to gain their trust and allegiance if you can navigate the mysterious customs and rituals, engage in exciting space battles on behalf of the mysterious guild, taking on lethal pirates in the void between worlds, visit the deadly House Harkonnen on their industrial hellscape of Giedi Prime, where poison and treachery lie behind every corner, mine spice on Arrakis to quench the insatiable need of the Imperium, even though it can never be enough to satisfy the hunger of the known universe, discover the wisdom of the secretive Bene Gesserit, if you can pass their deadly tests and prove yourself worthy of the Sisterhood's trust, politic on Kaitain against the Emperor and the Lanzarad Council, where you might play one side against the other, if you have the cunning and skill for such a deceit, in the ultimate game, and travel to from Arrakis, across the Imperium to seek new allies, resources, and favors that may tip the balance of power in the universe. So a very widespread campaign. The wealth of Arrakis may be yours, but you are going to have to fight to keep it. Every choice you make will determine the future of your house, for good or ill. Will you fall to ruin on the sands of Arrakis, or will you be strong enough to survive and become the masters of Dune? All right. So yeah, this is something I wanted to tell you about because it may be worth it. And of course, as they said, you don't have to play the adventure and the campaign experience to use this, but it has nice continuity. And let's take a look inside. So again, that Legendary Pictures and Gale Force 9 shared license. Yeah, so here's all 9 chapters. And I like that they really emphasize you can play them out of order, because I don't think you should railroad players, through what's going on in Dune, because it's so complicated and there's some things that they just may not be that interested in. Either the politicking or the strange rituals of the Bene Gesserit. There may be things that they are not interested in doing, so don't force any of it. Let them, choose their own allies. So what is this book? The fate of the player character's house is about to be determined on the sands of Arrakis. So in this campaign, the player characters take the place of House Atreides and gain dominion over the planet Arrakis. Mining the spice for the Imperium, while there is potential for great power and profit, 1,000 enemies are ready to plunge their knives into the house's collective back at the slightest misstep. So yeah, this follows Agents of Dune, and I think names a lot of House Nagara characters, but you can change. You can easily, swap in your own. And also, there's a lot of useful NPCs in here for just running your own campaign. So yeah, they'll need to appeal across the Imperium. So here's another. So do I need other books? The Masters of Dune is a complete adventure, but you do need access to the core rules. And it's in their most complete form. However, Agents of Dune also contains all you need to play, and it is possible to play with just their quick start called Worm Sign on the Modiphius website. And so here's updating, where you stand as of the end of the box set campaign, which is kind of just getting you up to speed, and then naming the house. So in Agents of Dune, the player characters assumed the role of House Nagara, a major house in the Imperium, but it's possible to play with a house of your own design, and the same in that box, and the same applies with Masters of Dune. So you can do things that you create yourself, and you just have to knock out the names and replace them with similar roles. And then also they suggest scaling down. So it's designed to run as an epic campaign, where the characters have the opportunity to take the place of House Atreides. However, you may want to use the adventure in less ambitious campaigns. And it's really to see how they intended some things to play and some interactions to work out. I think this is a good resource, even if you don't plan on playing it, directly as a straightforward campaign. So here's everything they have, and they basically break it down. You can see you start on Arrakis and establishing kind of where you are, and then there's options for Gidi Prime, the Emperor, being attacked. So the house, so Harkonnen. Harkonnen has an excuse, then the Fremen, great houses, Bene Gesserit, the Guild, and the Crucible. So the final chapter is a showdown, basically. You're facing down House Harkonnen. Ooh, so can they retain control of Arrakis or claim the Lion Throne itself? So yeah, they said epic. So yeah, they're trying to do, the fate of your house, the fate of the Imperium is in the balance, hanging in the balance. And there's some nice things before the campaign gets started that I thought were very useful. We used in our own campaign. So they have these influence indices, and when houses are dealing with each other, these are really useful things. So similar to like a, kind of stock market. Very generalized, positive and negative values for your standing with and kind of the extent of your things like honor, imperial support, landsrad support, military power, ruthlessness, spice production, wealth, and the sietch. So there may be a specific sietch in the campaign. So basically, Fremen trust, and then they give you some. More ways to track your spice harvesting, which you have, the mechanics in that box set as well. So I thought this was very useful. So each index has a simple game effect. They modify the difficulty rating of any test where they may apply. So it's very useful to just kind of keep these in the balance and the kind of effects of successful negotiation, successful, or even defeating houses, putting down enemies. That can change the difficulty, and so I think that really makes it more effective, and it shows players where they want to go or what they want to put down. So the Guild and the Bene Gesserit. The Spacing Guild and the Bene Gesserit like to keep their agendas a secret, even with their allies. As such, there are no ratings that reflect their interest in the players. However, it is possible to gain favor for each of them. And this is a nice thing too, you can collect favor points. So if you work in cooperation with them, basically there's a currency that you'll be awarded that then you can cash in on favors or connections. So basically like you can automatically generate an asset or a contact that would be on your side, kind of calling in a favor. And then and the wealth as well, I thought was a nice way to kind of keep track of the scale, because it's such a large scale. Great houses and major houses have such a great scale of wealth that it's not, you're not going to want to be counting Solaris for anything. And then of course they reiterate their spice harvested. And then yes, it begins, and you can see the adventure is very similar in presentation to what we saw in the box set, minus the sidebars. So they're understanding that anything they mention here, you can either look up in the core rule or have some idea already. And so all of the brown boxes are, read out loud. So yeah, so you're not walked through this as much, there's no hand holding, but it does present things in the same way, where they give you, if they're asking these questions, here are the answers to these questions. So you can come up with them very quick. And of course, then the stats of all the characters. So a nice presentation. And already they're saying, what's next? What do you want your house to do? So I think you're establishing what's going on in Arrakis, the conflict with the Fremen, and then where do you go from here? And then they give you some reference to who are going to be recurring characters in the campaign. And then here's the places you can go. So Gidi Prime. Of course, dinner. Yes, we did a dinner on Gidi Prime. With no dueling, but some murder, of course. And so it's a nice presentation. And here's the Emperor. So we're already in chapter 3. So just a few pages of each of these kind of situations, but they're also giving you NPCs and kind of where things can go and interacting. So if you didn't think that you could have a Bene Gesserit ally, possibly when you're dealing with the Emperor, you're interacting with a Bene Gesserit on Kaitane, and can follow that lead. So this is nice that there's a lot of hooks to connect the players to many different places. A royal summons. The Emperor likes to ask you to speak to him. Oh, and they even give you. So here's, like we saw similarly with the that factory in the box set. These are these kind of abstract zone maps that you can use to track where assets are and what you're interacting with. So yeah, this is a very common style to use in the game, because you're not using hexes or squares, grids. So yeah, and I was able to pull, looking in here, I was able to pull some great NPCs and things to include in our campaign, because we weren't going to go quite to this extent, and especially because our players didn't want to deal with Arrakis. They wanted to stay free of it as much as possible, and they were very early on in the Harkonnen takeover, so there wasn't so much of a need. And then dealing with the great houses. Yes, we had a very long session of voting. Oh, excellent! I didn't see that they added another few houses in here that you can deal with. But yeah, we have presented very similarly. So if you've gone through the campaign in Agents of Dune, this will all be very familiar, just without, you may have to do some rules look up when it's referencing the different tests and things you may want to check and make sure. But they do a nice job of suggesting the difficulty of a test and what a test should be, to determine this, to detect deceit or poison or whatever is going on. And we didn't interact much with the Spacing Guild, but there was and here's another one of those area maps. Oh, that's right. And they even talked about space combat for the, hunting pirates. Yeah, so space combat and so you can see how abstract things can be. And where are the pirates? Interesting. Yeah, I should have taken a look at this, because there should have been some pirates in the graveyard. But I thought there was more interest in the discovery than ship-to-ship combat. But yeah, they have things explained here about how here's all the different scales of the ships. Nice. Tracking mercenaries, making the meat. Oh, here we go. Yeah, and there's even... Yeah, and here's another interesting map for it looks like infiltrating or at least the landing bay. Oh yeah, no, this is like range bands from the base, running the battle. Yeah, so talking about battle and move rolls for the ship combat and what those difficulties could be, and then the final showdown. Yes, always really nice art. I like how they present a lot of the artwork, and they're following the guide of the production design for the Dune films. All right, and here's kind of where your indices stand. This will let you know kind of effects of that. Yeah, really nice. So yeah, as you can see, if your group did enjoy the adventure in the Agents of Dune box, it doesn't have to be the end. You can have a complete showdown, in the timeline of the Dune novels with your house replacing Atreides, and really go deep into exploring the Imperium. So in that first box, of course, you're not exploring. Agents of Dune doesn't go off of Arrakis. You're basically dealing with your situation there, and this opens the whole Imperium up to you. So a nice option. And I just wanted to mention this because it seemed like I was skipping something pretty major that may be a big may make your decision clearer if they have this much more material supporting that pre-gen house. Maybe you want to do it. So depending on how your group received it, there is more. 172 pages more to go. So yeah, this is a nice, kind of a nice follow through. And it's great to see that they don't just throw this out there and give it no support. Here is the continuation of what began here, giving you more characters and expanding the scale of it. So thank you so much for joining me. And this is Upturned Table, so upturntable.com for everything that we're doing, including audio of our actual plays if you don't like to have, if you don't like the ads and things in YouTube videos. Oops. And also social media, Upturned Table. And please like this video if this was useful, if this helped you decide if you want to start here or if you just want to go straight for the core book. And subscribe to the channel. You'll get notified when we play Dune again, and also everything else that gets posted. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.